Let me put 4207. Now, what went wrong? What went right, people? Again, we've spoken about the obvious that went wrong in this game. The same old cheap mistakes, inability to focus, inability to manage the game from the players and the manager. Certain players just not being at it. When certain players who are normally good have an off day, we can't do much. Certain players are lacking with consistency. It's our more experienced players that are letting us down yesterday as well, really. Like Tomiyasu, he's young, but he's one of the most experienced players. He's played for Japan. Odegaard, anonymous. Partey, poor, piss poor at that. They let us down, really and truly. Excluding a Battini, nowhere to be seen, really and truly. Is our more experienced players that let us down. But without going over the same old, it is the same old, Don't look after the ball, don't manage the game well, don't follow runners. Look very poor on the defensive transition, playing a high line against players that you in Eduard and these guys and you don't want to get caught in a foot race. So naiveties, and they came to pass even when Palace are counter attacking. It's 3 against 3, and an inability, I would say, to read the warning signs, because you can't say Palace scored against the run of play and it was unwarranted. Palace deserved it. Palace should have went into half time 2 or 3-1 up, really. So there needs to be more of a reaction. I saw a lot of naiveties. I keep saying it. You've got to earn the right to play. We didn't do that. You've got to win your first and second balls. We didn't do that. You've got to help your teammates out. You've got to do a bit more than the minimum. You need to make sure that the minimum is that you arrive at that ground and look like you're ready to play football. Didn't happen. It's another test against an informed team, which again we struggled. Same old people in that regards, people. Nothing went well. We apart from us getting back in the game and scoring and Lacazette off the bench and Martinelli, there's nothing there. Like, we was tired. There's more plaudits for Crystal Palace than there is for Arsenal. You can't praise Arsenal. There's nothing to praise Arsenal about based on that game, people. If I just read out some of the key points I've taken from that game, lack of creativity is killing us. Lack of create. No one looks like they can score a goal. We don't look like we can create. It's too stale. It's too rigid. You need just an individual moment of brilliance, like what Pepe did when he swung in he swung the ball in after him and Tomiyasu after they dealt with the corner. We can't rely on the same players. We're still imbalanced in midfield. We was too open on the transition in all aspects. Silly mistakes, poor game management. Concerning about for me, it's concerning about our inability to play well consistently. Can't use the no Xhaka excuse, because obviously Xhaka does give us a lot in midfield, but at the same time, he's been part of performances where we've played poor like this. And you can't say you want to be a serious side if you're crying that you miss Xhaka. Them man without Eze and Zaha didn't look like such. You could argue, say, just based on that 90 minutes, can Zaha and Eze get back in that team really and truly? Big up Vieira. His tactical change in Elise made the difference. The tactics he done, they did well. They did their thing, man. From a tactical point of view, what I didn't really enjoy, I think, there was too much gaps in our midfield. We struggled on the transition. Aubameyang's pressing on his own, which is pointless. There's no point pressing on your ones. We're losing the ball cheaply. Only thing we did well is score. Arteta doesn't understand what players are needed for what game, because, again, you don't always have to play Smith Rowe and Odegaard. And I'm someone that wants to see them together week in, week out. Sometimes you need to chop and change. We have no consistency. Saying that, we haven't lost in 5. Lacazette provided a spark for Aubameyang, in my opinion. We're terrible in the final third. Way too many gaps consistently throughout this whole team. I think Ben White and Gabriel are okay, but in the transition for both of those goals, they were at 6s and 7s, while I don't blame them. Upon watching the game again, I actually feel the first 20 minutes was our best period, but again, it was sluggish. Didn't really understand what we was doing off the ball, people. And when I look at the goals quickly, again, not to scale. You know me, I love a good old tactical thingy, but now, not to scale, but you've seen something along the lines of this in real time. We've had a throw in with Tomiyasu. Eventually, I think it finds its way with Pepe. Partey's been dispossessed, and then obviously, they're in from there. Really, they're in. Ben White's made an option to receive the ball from a throw. We've been caught during the transition. Eventually, Benteke snatched it and obviously put the ball in the back of the net. But it was a self-inflicted error. It didn't need to happen. Palace, none of the goals that either team scored, these 2 goals were handed to us. Their 2 goals were handed to them. You look at the defending for Aubameyang with Ward. He doesn't do well enough. You look at the 2 goals we conceded, as we're going to talk about. They weren't good enough. The goal we scored, Palace didn't clear their lines well enough. So the 4 goals scored in this game were not quality. And I don't blame our defenders, but we're at 6s and 7s. And Tierney was obviously around here somewhere, but 6s and 7s. And again, this is what happens against the run. For the second goal as well, Lokonga's lost the ball. And I tried to do 2 things in once. But if you remember, we've lost the ball here. I think Gallagher's snapped in here. They're in no man's land at this point. I can't lie. At this point, Lokonga's pull your man down, take the yellow card. Now, if we act like this this half is the next phase of the play, it's 3v3 now. We're pissed, without remembering it to scale. Gallagher's won it and advanced forward. It's fallen to Elise. Terrible spelling of Edouard, but you can see Edouard Tierney's in no man's land. He's tried to go as well. Edouard, you can see the run he's making. It eventually ends up with Edouard. Then, I don't know what, I don't know if Ben White's been listening to Beanie Man, but he's just backing it up, pause and backing it up, and just, you need to engage at some point. He's backing up and backing up and backing up. He gives him a freedom to the city. Edouard deserves his goal. Obviously, not to scale. We're in the box at this moment in time, people. We got into the box. He slapped it in and scored. Simple as that. But goals that are handed to them, really and truly terrible. Now, for me, the pressing thing is what annoys me. Now, if we just make them yellow, the pressing thing is what jars me. We're not pressing together. The pressing thing is dead. If Aubameyang is pressing the ball by himself, it's dead. They're just going to bypass him. It's irrelevant. Aubameyang's pressing on his ones. And what I don't know what our shape was. I'll be real with you, because I'm seeing Aubameyang. It's like Aubameyang's there. Who else is there? It's like, let me start writing people's names. It's like Oba's there. It's like we're doing this thing where Saka's still narrow. Obviously, maybe that's to cope with the threat of Ayew out there. Tomiyasu's like here. I can't lie. It's like Pepe, some fullback / winger thing. He's here. If you actually preed it, it looked like a 4-4-2 at times out of possession and whatnot. It looked like, if you go and watch the game again, Smith Rowe's actually popping up on the right-hand side, people, and pressing there. Odegaard's pissing me off in this game because he's meant to be playing with Partey, but it's like he wants to be a 10, and you either let him be the 10 and press, or you tell him you need to be more withdrawn. You can't do a hybrid of the two. But it's like Odegaard is trying to do this thing here. Partey was doing that as well, but Partey's by himself, really and truly. Again, you've got Ramsdale in goal. You've got your Gabriel, you've got your Ben White. You've got your Tierney there, who's probably a bit more here. We're getting bypassed in that area way too easily, people. And again, you can see the gaps. It's too easy for Crystal. It's too easy for Crystal Palace, people. Now, you know what Palace had. They had Edouard. Edouard had the most joy in the game. I thought it looked like it was going to come from Mitchell or Edouard down this side. But you had Edouard. You had Benteke. You had Ayew there. You had your Milivojevic here. You probably had your Gallagher here, there, and everywhere. I'm missing out someone, but they're there. And again, when you don't press together, when one man's pressing, one man's sitting off, they're just gonna bypass this. You saw with Gurhey and all these guys, they're just bypassing these things. They're just bypassing us. They're just getting through it. It's not even there. And that's why we're looking so bad on the recovery. Again, the midfield gaps were too easy. They're too easy on the transition, people. It's too easy. And again, we're looking disjointed. At times, we're looking like a 4. We're looking like a 5. We're looking like a 3. And obviously, formations are fluid. But if we are bewildered, the players look bewildered, because no one's really excelling in that, people, really. Please make sure you're hitting the like button if you haven't already, and checking out the pinned message, because I am live again on Twitch to talk Arsenal at 3 p.m. And then after that, 5:20. And then after that, 7:45. So, yeah, 7:45 on YouTube. The previous 2 will be on Twitch. But, yeah, we're just getting bypassed far too easily in this area, and players are not looking over their shoulders. People are not doubling up. And Tomiyasu had a tough day. I feel on the ball, Tomiyasu is trash. I can't lie to you. I know he's shown all right, but Tomiyasu on the ball is extremely limited. I cannot lie. He's almost a championship player in that regards, as much as I like him. But it's just imbalances. And the thing is, what Arteta is trying to do in games like this, it's not in isolation. I don't disagree with it, but these lot are not advanced enough for that. Certain guys here, they need to be able to lock down their roles first and do their job well. Then you can start chopping and changing. We look like a bunch of individuals. You look like you never played together before. Honest to God, that's what it looked like, people. Obviously, it looks weird not having Tierney there, so let's just go with that and Ramsdale. But That's where among everything, that's where we struggled. You know, the cheap goals are the cheap goals. Lacazette came on and brought something just by making a run. You know, Aubameyang had more joy in that game. You know, he brought energy. Him and Martinelli better than Bear, man. Pepe obviously grabbed an assist as well. Well, involved in 2 of the goals. It's not good enough though. It's very disjointed, man. That's my main takeaway from that. It's the same old, same old. And if you're gonna do that at home against sides, you should have the lion's share of possession and dominate and all these things. You know, what's your shape saying where games where you're gonna have to be without the ball? I don't know. So that's another reason as to why I think whatever happened, people. You know, that's something